Oh hey, I just saw that new I Love Boosters movie by Boots Riley. This is about a group of young boosters who steal from a large fashion retailer called Metro Design, and this is the second movie directed by Boots Riley following his cult classic, Sorry to Bother You. An Afro-Surrealism comedy with strong anti-capitalist messaging that I loved up until its third act, which takes an insane turn of events. So insane and off-putting that it took a rewatch for me to come around and finally appreciate it. And going into Boosters, I was expecting something similar. A stylized, bombastic journey with some charged political messaging, which is exactly what it is. It's definitely more accessible than Sorry to Bother You, while I'd argue even improving some of the off-canny political advocacy that makes Boots Riley's work so notable, all of which is done in a more optimistic and lighthearted approach. Keke Palmer plays the lead, Corvette, a fun protagonist for all of her charms and faults. She's the everyman in this fucked up and out-of-whack world. Lakeith Stanfield is one of my favorite working actors today. He plays an eccentric and gratifying character, as always. His name is Pinky Ring Guy. But probably my favorite is Naomi Ackie as Sade, who you might recognize from Sorry Baby and Mickey 17. She adds a much needed layer of depth for Corvette. Ackie is always a standout, and she shines here. The soundtrack features performances from Keke Palmer herself. Some of the songs are bubbly, while others are a little more funky and subdued, while the score feels like you're going to a circus on ecstasy. I haven't taken ecstasy or even gone to a circus, but I assumed this is what it would be like. Some of the songs would annoy the shit out of me anywhere else, but contextually they add to the movie's intensity. The music never lets down, and it always keeps things snappy. The atmosphere of I Love Boosters is very similar to how Boots Riley presents himself, usually in these exciting and colorful suits. I think one of the many qualities that sets Boots Riley apart as a filmmaker is how he uses surrealist elements to play into a larger commentary. The first example that jumps to mind is Christy Smith's apartment. Christy is the CEO of Metro Design, whose apartment is tilted at this 30-degree angle. What comes across as just a funny decision, in actuality, is a larger statement on how what we perceive as fashion is different from conventionality, as well as pointing out how disconnected social elites are from us. Although that might sound pretentious and like I'm overanalyzing her apartment, I Love Boosters is filled to the brim with this type of messaging and commentary. Workers at Metro Design are allowed 30-second lunch breaks, which creates this bit of workers speeding through their breaks. It's not only funny, but it acts as a larger remark on workers' rights, which is necessary for the movie's plot later on. Sets such as a laundromat or Metro Design stores themselves look like fun houses. It creates these densely packed spaces that are memorable and colorful. The Metro Design stores switch through monochromatic clothing once per month, emphasizing one of the movie's central points about fast fashion, as the movie brings your attention to the unsustainable work practices for these laborers. Personally, I appreciate how this movie seems to be criticizing the industry while pointing out the beauty in fashion as an art form, how it's used as a form of expression and the power behind it, no matter social class. There's a level of awe and aspiration for clothing that drives the boosters, rather than it just being a tool to make money. Sometimes Christy Smith gets overly preachy, singing these ideas about how fashion is greater than our understanding of life itself, which seems more like a statement on the shallowness of fashion elites rather than a commentary on the apparel itself. There's also a point of conflict where she's stealing work from uncredited artists, another real-world issue that the movie reflects in exuberant costume designs and bits. Most of Christy's character appeals to this idea that fashion is ruined by capitalism, while also enabling its growth. All of this is told in this grandiose style that's hard to peel your eyes away from. I love the aggressive punk energy you see in this movie's youthful resistance. It's direct and fun in a way that I think will resonate more with audiences than Sorry to Bother You. On the flip side of that coin, for as ambitious as a majority of this movie is, the ending is relatively tame. And Sorry to Bother You's third act was a big turnoff for a lot of people, your boy included, but I Love Boosters feels like it's compensating in some ways, almost like it's biting its tongue. I appreciate the uplifting ending because of our grim political environment, but some of the together and unity messaging feels forced, which is odd for a movie that truly revels in how different it is. I can enjoy an upbeat finish, it just seems cliche compared to what else we're given. I've seen some complaints online about audio mixing, which I personally didn't have any trouble with. I do, however, give props to the way this movie incorporates animation into its live action work. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it reminds me of the alien scene from Asteroid City. You can tell a lot of hard work went into it. Although it's not seamless, it fits into the movie surprisingly well. Some of the other special effects look purposefully cartoonish and ridiculous. And although I enjoy those moments, it's still nice to see something a little more polished next to this spectacle of mumbo jumbo. Similarly, the effects for Pinky Ring Guy are great, who's a character I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around. He's reading a book called Midnight's Children. I was not familiar with this story, but apparently it's about India's transition into independence, which, if you've watched I Love Boosters, kind of makes sense thematically. I think Pinky Ring Guy is symbolic of the conformity of relationships. In a world of having to choose work versus love, he embodies Corvette's choice. She can either go on this resistance journey or settle in a relationship, i.e. sucking your soul out. It's traditionalist from Boots Riley, so maybe I'm missing something. I believe the trash ball represents confusion from unions and resistance groups on how to stay organized. In the movie, acts of crime are conflated with protesting, which might be why the ball varies in size throughout. And I'm throwing a lot out there because I Love Boosters has so much to offer. It's filled to the brim with so much creativity and room for interpretation that it can't help but beg for analysis. And I'm leaving out several points as well. These are just some of the main big ones. I want to talk more about Christy Smith, who's a hilarious antagonist. Her evil isn't off from what you see in billionaires today. She's disconnected from reality, lacks empathy, and blends in with many of the problems of social elites. At one point, one of the Metro design workers is panicking, and he's like, Christy Smith is gonna freak out. And one of the other coworkers is like, Christy doesn't know you exist. Her, as well as every side character, adds to the larger messaging of this movie, even if some of those characters and subplots wedge themselves in. The movie's not perfect. A lot of the ideas are kind of half-baked, but I respect I Love Boosters for how willing it is to throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. And you know, a lot of it sticks. Watch this, it's sporadic and off the wall. I think you'll like it. I'm feeling an 8 out of 10.